Another beautiful day in Wally World. I'm going to install the bearings. I've done everything I can do to clean up the block, to fix these 3 holes, which are going to hold the grade 8 bolts. Now what I've done is I've taken, you can get carburetor cleaner or you can get brake clean. Brake clean is better for oil and grease. And what you do is you spray that on the parts for 2 things. It gets rid of the grease and oil and contaminants, which could affect the adhesion of this gray moto seal. I'm going to have to use it because I'm too broke ass to afford anything else at the moment. And I've checked my bearings. What I'm going to do with bearings when I put them in is I'm going to put a little tiny bead of JB Weld, which is over here. Probably should have set this up a little bit better, but oh well. I'm old, I really don't care. This is your standard JB Weld right here. And what I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of it here. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of it on the bottom of this bearing case here. And a tiny bit on the edges. Remember, I pick up these blocks on eBay or wherever. I don't know if they've got spun bearings in them or whatever problems they are. Let me explain what a spun bearing is. This is the bearing that goes in here. The bearing race on the crankcase is this part right here, which you cannot damage at all. You can do anything else, but you cannot damage this race right here. This is the outer, that's a crankcase race. This is the outer bearing race. They call it a race because the crankshaft races around the bearing. That's it, and that's my knowledge of it anyway. Now, when the crankshaft is put into here, the outside is stationary. It's like it's concrete in the block. It does not move at all. The crankshaft revolves around the inner, this is called the inner race, right here. The rest of it does not move. When you have a spun bearing, when someone says, oh, I spun a bearing, what they mean is that this inner part has locked up, all right? Say like, just pretend it's welded together, but it's not. For some reason it's locked up, and the crankshaft is spinning this outer, the whole bearing unit. Now you can imagine how much drag that would put on the crankshaft and the whole unit, which it's not supposed to do. Therefore, these races in this old block they're in good shape. I've just put a little scratches in them so that the JB Weld will grab tighter. I've used JB Weld in this engine. It's worked well. I'm going to use it because I want to build it once and that's it. So we mix up the JB Weld 50-50, half of one and half of the other, and I use a little Q-tip. Let's take this out here. I'll use a Q-tip, and I'll show you with my red tip here. I'll put a little bit on, a tiny bit on the back right here of the race, and I won't get around this hole right here. This hole is used so that gas and oil can drop down in it and get to the back of the bearing right here, the backs. See? It goes down right here and it gives it more lubrication. That's what it's there for. Now, before I'm going to use the JB Weld, I've also used Brake clean. If you have a can like this, it's a few years old and it's halfway full and you don't have anything, you won't spray out, do what I do, okay? Drill a hole in the damn thing. It's all the good stuff's in there. It just doesn't have the aerosol to pump it out. Brake clean is used for brakes in the brake department. It has no oil in it. It removes brake fluid, grease, and oil, degreases instantly. What it does is this lifts the oil and the grease off your brake pads, off of anything in your brakes, and it basically lifts it away and flushes it. You don't have to wipe anything on it. And then when I put the bearings in, I'm going to show you what tools to use to put it in if you're a backyard mechanic, and also what it sounds like, how to do the job correctly. And I'm waiting for my computer to reboot since some virus fucked it all up and now I got to reload. Oh, it's a long story. Okay, we continue with Project DIO Stroker. And this time, it's for real.